Hey traders, checking in on Bitcoin in the cryptocurrency space. We've seen some bearish action since we last checked in. Nice bounces out there in the altcoin space. I'm finding a lot of information on this dominance chart. I know some people don't like using it. I'll show you how I have found it useful, and we'll talk about the potential that Bitcoin's going to trade within a sideways range for a more prolonged period of time, which is exactly what the altcoin bulls want to see. Let's look at the charts. So in our last video, we were watching for the potential of a cup and handle-like pattern where we have the left side of resistance, the double top, a daily bull flag attempt, and we were watching to see, can we confirm it? We needed increasing bull volume if that was going to be the case, and we saw one day of increasing bull volume, but then a lack of follow-through. So this is a failed breakout. It's leaving us with a little daily lower high and lower low right here. So higher low was set, lower high failing to break resistance, now a little break of support, and I stopped out of the positions that I entered scaling in on this daily consolidation, because when I was scaling in on that consolidation, I was then going aggressive in terms of the amount of exposure I had to Bitcoin. And I knew that if that level broke, once this bounce started, and that was what, Sunday, Monday? So on Monday, once we got a little bit of bounce follow through, I knew if we came back down and broke that level, I would not have any confidence in the bulls at that point, and I would want to be stopped out of my aggressive position. So honestly, the first thing that happens every time I get stopped out is, oh man, what if we just turn right around and go back to all-time highs? FOMO. I definitely feel it. It's just recognizing that, and my logic is I instantly think about to my no-touch position and say, well, if that were to happen and I did not have a swing position on, I would make X, Y, and Z and on my long-term no-touch positions. And that helps me sleep a little better at night. So right now I am back to a lot more cash in my positioning. And I'm going to be watching for oversold bounce plays, but also watching this tightening range. The 3-day time frame is one way to view it. Some people will look at this and say, is it a head and shoulders pattern? It absolutely could be, but if we were going to drop down and break this support of 50.3 thousand, we would have to see increasing bear volume for that to happen. The other scenario that we're watching for is an all-time high set, a higher low, lower high, and then a higher low compared to 50.3 thousand. And again, that's a possible scenario where we could remain within this tightening range for another week plus. And that would be ideal for the altcoin bulls. They want to see continued bullish upside in their Bitcoin pairings, and they want to see Bitcoin set a higher low and then just trade sideways. Weekly time frame, losing 50.3 would lose the weekly higher lows for the first time on this entire breakout, which has lasted 600+%. So again, it is possible that this leads to monthly consolidation, but we would need to see the increased volume favoring the bears today. That would need to continue. And we would need to see that happen fairly often over the next few days. As far as the short term is concerned, we dropped down into oversold conditions. The 4-hour RSI got pretty beat up. Solid bounce on the hourly, and right now we're working on an hourly higher low. So low of the dump, high of the bounce. The high of that bounce was about 45% retracement. We know if the bulls get up to 50%, that's when we start to favor a tightening range. Anything under the 382 retracement, we start to look for a potential bear flag. So let's just see exactly what it was. From that high to the low, we bounced pretty much 45%. So the bulls need a 5-minute trend change back in their favor for an hourly higher low to form compared to 55.6 thousand. And then if we're going to see bounce follow through, the bulls would have to confirm a trend change. And that's what the bulls want to see, a confirmed daily downtrend with a lack of follow through. Because if we see follow through, every lower low that we drop to from here, bulls get a little bit more nervous about these tops. A lot of people on social media, a lot of traders watching 55,000 for this tightening higher low to form. So we'll keep an eye on that level as well. So hourly tightening range in the short term, dominance chart. So what do I get from the dominance chart? First things first, this mini alt season that we've seen over the last week was kicked off by a multiple month-long weekly equilibrium breaking bearish. It was a very clear bear break and a lot of bear follow through. And again, that led to how many days of drop? bear break at 59.67. So essentially 6 days of downside in response to breaking an equilibrium bearish. So that was one clue, look to alts. Another clue, the daily RSI got crushed. And look back at history. We have history as a guide. What has happened the last 2 times the RSI on the daily has gotten this beat up? One of them was on July 8th, and the other one was on February 13th, both in 2020. Now on February 13th, the bottom was marked and the bounce began on the dominance chart by a top being marked in cryptocurrency. Now granted, you can say, well, that was COVID. That's a unique situation. And that's true. And it was the sector-wide dump, and then the alts just dumped faster, that led to this daily oversold bounce taking place. But we had it happen again July 8th. And again, it was a local top being set on Bitcoin, and the dominance chart bounced by the entire sector dropping and the alts dropping faster. It now happened again. This daily oversold bounce is taking place with the sector dropping and the alts dropping faster. That's 3 times in a row. That's enough for me to have confidence now, where the next time we see an extremely extended drop on the daily with RSI levels down in the teens, I'm going to assume that the bounce will occur by a crypto-wide sector drop. Until I see it happen with a bull break, that will be my assumption from now on. So that is clues that we can garner as far as short-term direction to be leaning. And now on the dominance chart, we're going to scout a daily lower high. All RSI levels are cooling off. And the best case scenario for the altcoin bulls, have Bitcoin set a daily high or low and stay in its tightening range, 54, 55,000, and see this dominance chart set a lower high, cooling off all RSI levels and allowing for further downtrend to continue seeing the altcoins outperform Bitcoin bulls. ETH USD, look at the last time we topped out here. We had a daily bull flag with 1 day of follow through, a bull break on 1 day straight into a pullback, and that marked a weekly lower high. We had a bull break on the weekly, but again, it's a daily bull flag. The bull break saw very little follow through, and here we are breaking our short-term daily support. So we pull up the weekly time frame for ETH. We don't have weekly consolidation underway right now, but recognize flags confirming and lacking follow through. It happens all the time in multiple directions. A bear flag confirming with no follow through will often lead to a bounce, and here is the exact opposite scenario. So great volatility for day trading here. ETH dropped to 1930 and bounced to 2010. That's an $80 bounce, 4%. So again, now it's the same thing as Bitcoin. Can we confirm an hourly trend change? We have an hourly tightening range. We need an hourly higher low to form compared to the low. What the dominance chart is also showing us, I always just zoom into the hourly and say, okay, I can see that alts dropped harder as Bitcoin dropped, and then alts bounced harder as Bitcoin bounced, and now it's tightening up. So I look at the ETH BTC chart, and it is still correlated to the US dollar pairing. And if the US dollar pairing breaks bullish and changes the hourly trend, we certainly need to ensure that the Bitcoin pairing breaks bullish as well. Now that we're getting this shakeup, we want to ensure that the BTC pairings and US dollar pairings on our altcoins continue to stay correlated to favor the bulls. If ETH USD broke resistance at the top of its bounce of 2013 and the BTC pairing did not break its top of the bounce, that would be a little bit of a red flag for me as an ETH bull. Binance, consolidation underway, hourly time frame. Again, you're going to see everybody correlating in terms of the low, the high of the bounce, the altcoin seeing significant volatility in both directions, more significant. And again, looking for the hourly high or low. Can the bulls confirm an hourly trend change? Great guide of hourly EMA 12 resistance in the short term. So the great thing about playing altcoin bounces is, again, they bounce harder. The tricky thing is you don't want to enter too early, because if you do, it's more pain to the downside. So if you are an oversold bounce player, again, scaling in is the ideal way to go, assuming you're not going to nail the bottom, but knowing that things get extreme. But as far as back burner trades, which we've got a YouTube video on, but first hourly oversold conditions coming off all-time highs, certainly successful bounces all over the place in crypto, with Binance over a 9% bounce. And again, you don't need to nail the bottom and the top. If it's a 9% range and you nail 4% of that, half of it, that's a really solid trade. BNB, BTC, same thing. Watch the correlation. Need to stay in the spotlight. Hourly trends need to change together. LTC USD played catch up. Another thing you'll notice, and again, now I have to go back historically and see how it played out those other two times, July 8th and February 13th, we see our weakest coins pump last before the entire sector drops. Litecoin and XRP have clearly been our weakest coins for a while. As far as their Bitcoin pairings continuing to drop to lower lows, XRP has been tightening up in an equilibrium, but the pullbacks on these weaker coins are more significant from their highs. So again, just looking at Litecoin, from the high to the low of the pullback, we dropped 14%. Binance, how significant was this drop? It was in line, 14%. So perhaps a bit misleading. If ETH dropped 14% as well, then that's going to go out the window. But the point will remain, so ETH much less, 10%, but the point will remain that it was the weakest names to pump last, and then everybody's pumped now, and then the sector pulls back. So again, keeping an eye out for that observation in the next time. Next time we've got an alt season running, and everybody's going to this coin, to this coin, to this coin, finally to the weakest coins, is that time to start looking for a sector-wide pullback. LTC, BTC, again, still correlated. Watch the hourlies. They are doing the same thing, and they need to continue doing the same thing for the bulls to try and keep momentum in the altcoin space. XRP USDT, same deal. Hourly higher low trying to form. Hourly trend change needed. Still certainly significantly correlated to the BTC pairing. And on this next bounce, I would be scouting a 4-hour lower high. So if you are bearish XRP, as I know many people are out there, top fishing 112 resistance, looking for a 4-hour lower high, ideally over $1, so the risk is smaller, is a potential play to be watching, as a 4-hour lower high is the most likely scenario due to the size of the pullback. Theta USDT, bull move. So we saw Theta in the spotlight with a massive run up, then traded sideways while the rest of the altcoins got their attention. Then a bull move yesterday, right into resistance. We failed to break 1395 and rejected and pulled back. And the BTC pairing did the same, setting a lower high compared to its previous resistance. Worth watching because of these weekly inside bars. It's getting nice and tight. And these weekly inside bars, if they form remaining weekly inside bars 4 days from now, I would say we are 95% likely to break these inside bars next week. And maybe it leads to weekly consolidation, which is certainly due, but worth watching for those inside bars. So again, short term, all about the hourly as Bitcoin's heading down to test the low. And if we get a lower low, it will be bears seeing follow through on the daily bear break. And again, then we'll be watching 4-hour oversold conditions. A play to be watching, if Bitcoin breaks to a lower low, find the altcoins that are not breaking to a lower low and bottom fish those altcoins off of their support, giving some wiggle room. And then the best case there would be Bitcoin breaks to a lower low, doesn't see much follow through as the 4-hour RSI gets oversold, and then starts to see a bit more bounce. But again, for me personally, I am sitting on my hands. I will play a bounce if the 4-hour RSI starts to get to some extreme levels on Bitcoin, and I'll be looking to link ETH and Bitcoin, the coins I'm most comfortable with trading. But again, I'm being very patient because I know that this daily time frame can potentially get choppy for a more prolonged period of time than we have been used to in the last 6 months. Hope you're all well. Hope you do good things. S&P 500 still right up at the all-time highs, so the broader market's still strong. And we'll check back in the near-term future. Have a good rest of your day.